Trafalgar D. Warder Law, Surgeon of Death, Honorary Straw Hat, Member of the Worst Generation, 3 billion bounty man, ex-warlord and owner of 10 devil fruits? What? Okay, one of those things is not like the others. I mean, Law is more than an honorary straw hat in our hearts. Jokes aside, people always talk about how limitless and versatile and powerful Luffy's Awakened Gear 5 is, praising the potential of the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. That's just so long. But they often underestimate just how insanely strong Law's devil fruit is. The fact is, there's a good reason why it is the most sought after devil fruit, rivaling the bounties of both Whitebeard and the Pirate King Goldie Roger himself at 5 billion berries. Luffy, with his mythical devil fruit, has the power of Toon Force, being able to make whatsoever his imagination desires become reality. He can grab lightning, turn into a giant, manipulate the properties of other objects, such as using Kaido as a literal jumping rope, etc. Law, not even having a mythical zone fruit, actually has just as much freedom as Luffy. Even pre-Wano, the Obi Opi no Mi gave Law great utility with various moves such as Shambles, Amputate, Raider Knife, etc. But after we saw his awakening in action during the battle on Onigashima, with the likes of K-Room, R-Room, Shock Willie, and the other insane techniques, Law reached a whole new level which allowed him to barely, by the way, take down an Emperor of the Sea with the help of Junkyard Shanks. Or just Kid, don't want to slander Kid. So, what do I mean by Law having 10 devil fruits? Well, so imagine this. Come home from a long day's work, your boss was nagging you all day, and one of your coworkers had the audacity to eat that amazing sandwich you prepared for lunch. You're pissed. You're angry. Your Kankosaki is going wild and your house is crumbling. But then you walk into the kitchen and see a blonde-haired, curly-eyebrowed chef in your kitchen. It's Sanji. And not only is he here to cook you one of the best meals you ever had in your life, but he's got the best ingredients. And you are just so excited to eat, you don't even question how the heck he got into your house. But what if you could have that quality every day? Well, you surely can with today's sponsor, HelloFresh. Get mouth-watering seasonal recipes and fresh, pre-measured ingredients delivered right to your door with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh makes cooking at home fun, easy, and affordable. No matter what's going on in the world, everyone's got to eat. That's why HelloFresh is here to make eating better, easier. No grocery stores, no stressful meal planning, just everything you need to prepare wholesome, delicious meals all delivered to your door. Not only is it quality produce from the farm to your door in less than a week, but spend less time in the kitchen with the quick and easy meals like HelloFresh's fast and fresh pineapple chicken tacos or falafel power bowls, ready in 15 minutes or less. HelloFresh is up to 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant or grocery shopping, according to the Zagat dining survey. And then getting back into the fall season can be busy. But weeknights can be made so much easier with foolproof, step-by-step recipes, again, ready in 15 minutes or less. And even if you don't have a regular diet, HelloFresh offers veggie, pescatarian, and fit and wholesome meals to make it easy to stick to your goals. So ditch your usual boring low-cal foods for HelloFresh today and use code POG B.D.A. AUG50 for 50% off plus free shipping. It's not quite the same as Blackbeard, who literally possesses 2 different fruits inside of him, I guess, from as far as we know. But what Law does with his one devil fruit puts Marshall D. Teach to shame. No wonder Blackbeard got put in his place by our second favorite mink, our best boy Beppo. Firstly, the very first attack Law uses in the Sabaody Archipelago arc, Shambles, already replicates an entire devil fruit by itself. As long as Law is in his room using Shambles, he can exchange the places of 2 objects instantly, essentially having the power to warp around both himself as well as other people and objects. Where have we seen this exact ability before? Okay, so this one ability does exactly what Van Auger's Warp fruit does. Of course, we don't know the extent of his power, but as far as we know right now, Shambles can completely replicate everything we've seen Van Auger do. Of course, there's no limit in regards to room, and it seems to be instantaneous, but another Alpha Blackbeard it seems. Next, we have another ability which is shown very early on in Sabaody, Amputate. Amputate is the attack that Law uses while fighting marine fodder with Luffy and Kid in front of the slave auction house, in tandem with Shambles. It is also the attack which Law used to defeat Virgo on Punk Hazard, which Amputate basically detaches body limbs of the target using the cursed blade Kukoku. We also saw it used on Kinemon in the first half of Punk Hazard. Now, even though Law splits the body of his enemy, there is no physical damage being dealt, and the body parts still do remain or maintain some sort of connection with each other. This one ability alone replicates the powers of not one, but 2 different devil fruits, Buggy's Bada no Mi, as well as Captain Very Good's Very no Mi. Now, for those of you who actually have lives, you're probably thinking, who the hell is Captain Very Good? Well, he's a Marine captain that appeared during the Buster Call in Enies Lobby and fought Frankie. He has the power to split his body into multiple balls, or rather berries, which is quite similar to Buggy's ability. Now, you might say, but Brago, Law uses his technique on other people while both Buggy and Very Good split themselves. Very astute of you. Let me ask you in return, after everything we've seen of Law's awakening during Wano, do you really think that he couldn't use Amputate on himself to stimulate those fruits? Yeah, Law can definitely do that. Okay, so that is already 3 devil fruits with just the first 2 attacks we've seen Law use over 500 chapters ago. Next up, there's a little less known skill of Law's, tact. This one is first shown post time skip during the Punk Hazard arc. When using this power, Law points his index finger towards the object, and then he does a lifting motion which raises the target as long as they are in his room. He uses this to elevate the G5 Marine ship and make it completely airborne. The more observant viewers will already have made a connection, but this exactly mimics the powers of Golden Lion Shiki's Fura Fura no Mi, or Float Float Fruit for the non-weebs. We see Shiki use this in the movie One Piece Strong World, and Law's technique copies it perfectly. But as noted before, some people aren't chronically online. They might not have known that Shiki is also a canon character in the manga. He was first mentioned in Impel Down as the first and only person to ever do a prison break before Luffy, but we also see his Devil Fruit in action during One Piece Chapter 0, which is completely canon. If you don't know what Chapter 0 is, stay tuned. There will be a video coming out soon about it. So for the previous examples, there were solid arguments that explained how the effects replicated other people's devil fruits. We've had to make some connections, assumptions, or in other words, prove it. But for this next example, this is already a confirmed fact. In the manga, Law directly says that this technique is paying homage to his beloved father figure, Corazon. That's right, I'm talking about the awakened ability of our room, Silent. This is straight up copies Corazon's Nagi Nagi no Mi, or Calm Calm Fruit. No caveats, no stretching, no nothing. Just plain and simple, it is Rocinante's ability, and it is used to great effect in order to defeat Big Mom by stopping her from calling for her soul homies while falling towards her hot bath. Or death, depending on how you see it. Speaking of Big Mom, this next one requires a little bit of thinking outside the box, but Law's personality transplant surgery basically copies the core aspects of Big Mom's soul fruit. Nani? Let me explain. What personality transplant surgery stated to do in the manga is use shambles in order to swap the souls between multiple people. We've seen how this was used in Punk Hazard to switch out the souls of the Straw Hats between themselves, which gave us amazing scenes such as Sanji groping himself in Nami's body, as well as Smoker giving us more fan service in Food Wars. Disclaimer, do not look up Food Wars unless you're actually alone. Getting back to the point, the main part of Big Mom's combat prowess are her homies. Of course, there's also her haki, but we're talking about devil fruits. Anyway, Charlotte Linlin creates her homies by imbuing inanimate objects with souls, aka by manipulating souls and moving them into other objects. Law does exactly this with his personality transplant surgery. And while this is not the extent of what Linlin can do with her powers, in essence, it is the core of her power. Now guys, we're already 6 devil fruits in, and we still have 4 more entire powers to cover. Alright, but next up, there's Antibacterial Curtain, a less used move of Law's, but when using it, Law creates a defensive barrier in front of him, capable of stopping some of the strongest attacks in the series, or at least withstanding it. Sound familiar? That's right, this is again a straight up copy of everyone's favorite fanboy, Bartolomeo and his Barrier Fruit. Not to be confused with Bartholomew Kuma and his Pawpaw Fruit, right? Okay. Although, now that I think about it, if Law makes a comeback after the Winter Island incident, I would not be surprised if he managed to shambles around the concepts such as pain or memories. I mean, he can transplant souls. There's no reason to assume he wouldn't be able to do the same with something like fatigue. I know, it's OP, but that's what we're talking about. But getting back to Bartolomeo, we saw his devil fruit used extensively during Dressrosa and the Corridor Coliseum. And seeing Law use the curtain against Kaido and blocking a Thunder Bagua, which one-shot and later defeated Luffy multiple times, as well as, well, literally kill him, I think it would be a stretch, get it, to say that Law's use of Bartolomeo's fruit is at the very least as powerful as the original, or possibly even stronger? I know, I find it hard to imagine Bartolomeo stopping a fully charged Thunder Bagua from Kaido, the King of Beasts, even though he did stop an enraged Odin. That wasn't him though, that was somebody else. Either way, again, this seems to be another case of Law completely overshadowing entire devil fruits with his moveset. 3 more to go. But the next spot goes to another less used attack, Counter Shock, as well as Radio Knife. Radio Knife is an offensive move which requires amputate, but before splitting his opponent, Law charges his cursed blade with electricity, which means that after being split apart, the target also gets hit with an electric shock. This move was most notably used against Treyball during the rooftop battle with Doflamingo. Serves him right because nobody likes Treyball. But as for Counter Shock, this is basically a makeshift defibrillator. Law presses his hand against something or someone and sends an electric shock throughout their body. Now, who else do we know that uses electricity and also sends shock waves into the heart to make it start beating again, etc. Perhaps someone hit with the reject dial before. Nobody? Okay. So yeah, we're talking about Slim Shady himself and his Goro Goro no Mi. Obviously, similarly to Big Mom, Enel can do much more than just coat objects with electricity and restart his heart, but he can use lightning to travel quickly, enhance his observation haki, aka mantra. He can create whatever this is, his insane Amaru form, but at the core of it, it boils down to using lightning and electricity. Everything else is an advanced application of that base power. That's like saying playing basketball is scoring alley-oops instead of saying it's about dribbling, shooting, etc. The fact fact is, we don't know how far Law could take his electricity powers if he can do the basics. I think it stands to reason that he could have the potential to use more advanced attacks. So again, that's another Devil Fruit control seed control V onto Law's long CV. You get that. Next up, we have another awakened attack, Shock Villi. Shock Villi is first used during the Battle of Onigashima, and that's one of Law's most devastating moves against Big Mom. Now, Law uses his K-Room and coats his blade Kikoku with it. Then he expands the blade, making it go through his opponent just like anesthesia. However, after piercing his enemy, he releases an electrical shock wave which greatly damages the target. Now, this mimics a Devil Fruit which not many people remember, the Rupture Fruit used by Gladius, member of the Don Quixote family. Yeah, that forgettable guy. Cool haircut though. But the Rupture Fruit allows the user to make anything that isn't organic, aka any inanimate object, such as a building for example, to swell, rupture, and explode. That sounds crazy out of context. Law makes his sword swell, become longer, and pierce his opponents, and then he charges that blade with electricity, making it rupture and explode with huge voltage and electrical energy, leaving the opponent devastated. Now, if he can do this with his sword, there's no reason why he can do it with anything else he envelops his K-Room with. It is just that he uses the technique with his blade because it's his weapon of choice, and probably because it would look very stupid to pierce and explode opponents using a rooftop. So whilst admittedly not being exactly the same as the Rupture Fruit, you could definitely make a case for Shock Villi being an even more advanced version of the original fruit's powers. And last but not least, we can't have a video breaking down the powers of the Opi Opi no Mi without mentioning the Immortality Surgery. Yes, now you may ask yourself, when have we ever seen anything similar to the Immortality Surgery? And the answer is, well, we haven't, because we have not seen the Immortality Surgery ever being performed yet, dummy. But it is an iconic move and we all know what it does. At the cost of the user's life, they can make another person immortal. Though Flamingo was planning on Law using this power to make him immortal, and as far as we know, it's very likely that the same move was used on Imusama during the Void Century, which is why they're probably still kicking 900 years later. What we do know about this power is that it grants the person immortality. And what other fruit do we know that makes the user stop aging? Our panty-sniffing Afro-Skeleton's Revive fruit. Now, Brook's Devil Fruit is only activated by the death of its user, but at the end of the day, the outcome is the same. The fruit grants immortality, and so does the surgery. So you guys, Law's Devil Fruit is insane. We've covered entire powers of 10 different characters, and we haven't even gotten through all of Law's attacks. This man is crazy, and if Oda did not have to nerf his combat prowess, he could literally throw a rock into water and shambles Kaido into the sea, although a volcano worked out just as well. This Devil Fruit is truly limitless and deserves the age-old joke of Opi Opi no Mi. And to top it all off, we haven't even touched on how this fruit even simulates multiple forms of haki, ranging from observation with scan, which is basically N from Hunter x Hunter, to advanced armament, Ryo with Gamma Knife. Law is simply a case of Devil Fruit becoming way too versatile and thus losing one identity and instead adopting multiple others. Let's just hope that this won't happen with Gear 5 and Luffy will at least somewhat stay true to his rubbery persona. But guys, that's it. You like the video? Then like it. Like the channel? Then subscribe.